What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Sister Girl on Films. And y'all, I am back with episode 8, season 2 of P Valley Death Drop. I know I missed last week's episode, but y'all, life be happening, okay? I know y'all feel me. Life happens to everybody. And I just didn't have the energy to record nothing last week. I don't get paid to do this. I don't do this full time. I have a whole full-time job. I was exhausted and I was like, it's 1,000 people reviewing the show. So yeah, I got enough people, telling you their thoughts. So I'll just say this. I enjoyed episode 7. It was a really damn good episode. Okay, so this episode, as the title suggests, is really centered around the theme of death, okay? And this was another really strong episode. So I really don't have anyone that I'm like least entertaining to most entertaining or interesting. Everybody was kind of even for the most part across the board. So we'll just keep our first place losers who they always are. At this point, these are our candidates for the mayor's race. So we have Patrice, Andre, Corbin's brother, whose name I forget, Corbin, and Autumn, Haley, Lakeisha, whatever you want to call this heifer. So in this mayor's race, we have finally got to the part where the mudslinging happens, the negative ads, just all the mess that comes with politics. And we have some ads that have been ran and paid for by the current mayor. And it's been towards Andre and Patrice. In the ad towards Andre, it is revealed that Andre lied about his father and that his father did not die when he was 7, but in fact is in prison on death row.
Father died when I was but 7 years old.
His father, Abraham Watkins, is very much alive on death row.
Lord, I know he was too good to be true.
And so Andre is just like, what the F? How did this come out? I don't know what I'm going to do. Corbin is pissed off because he's like, why did you lie about that? Like, what is happening? We are screwed at this point. And with Patrice, the ad talks about how she was a prostitute and started running down all her charges.
Prostitution, drug use, assault and battery. The list goes on and on. It leads you to wonder, is this what Jesus would do?
She was on her knees for Chuckalisa. She was turning them tricks for the people, okay? And she still don't want that goddamn casino.
I hoed so you could fly, Chuckalisa. Vote Woodbine for mayor and no on the casino referendum.
That's what Patrice basically felt about them ads. She didn't care. It didn't faze her none. And so Corbin says to Andre, he's like, look at Patrice. At least she owning her shit. Corbin is pissed off still. And so he's out at the plantation working. And Uncle Clifford, goes out there to talk to him because Uncle Clifford is pissed off at Autumn. We'll get to that later. But as Uncle Clifford goes out to this plantation, Corbin is trying to fix some irrigation system, and they have a little banter back and forth. And so basically, Uncle Clifford is like, you're not looking too good out here in these streets. And so it looks like to me, and it sounds like to me, you trying to give up, but you're doing too much. You need to make the water come to you. Don't go to the water. Make the water come to you. So as a result of that, Corbin gets this brilliant idea to give Patrice $10,000, and I'm assuming it's going to be for her to drop out of the race or for her to change her mind about that casino referendum. We'll see. The last thing I do want to say about this storyline that we're going to move forward is that I thought it was very interesting that Corbin, when he donated to Patrice's online sermon, that he did it under the username Brer Rabbit. And so I don't know how familiar y'all are with African American folklore, but the Brer Rabbit was very cunning and very smart. He was always one step ahead of everybody because everybody was always trying to come for him and trying to get him because he was always doing shit he had no business doing. And so all the other animals in the woods were always trying to get him, but he was always outsmarting them and able to get away with whatever he was trying to get away with. So number one, I thought that was very interesting that they use that as a username. And two, I like the fact that they used that and threw that little nugget in there because this does take place in a fictional town in Mississippi, and y'all know Mississippi and slave routes and things like that. So I thought it was a really good connection. So I did enjoy that little part. All right, so now let's talk about Miss Mercedes. So the opening scene of this episode, to me, it was the driest of all the openings we've had so far. But after I kind of sat with it and thought about it, I was like, it kind of makes sense, because for Mercedes, the Pynk is no longer like this glamorous, amazing, fun place for her. She experienced a lot of trauma there. You know, there's her ghosts of her past is there. Even her ability to dance on the pole is different at the Pynk than it was before, because she was really struggling this episode with her pole work and her routine, and it just looked a sloppy mess, honey. But when she was dancing for the coach and all that, she had no problem with her shoulder. Yes, it was bothering her, but she still was doing tricks and all that other stuff. And now she's back at the Pynk, and Uncle Clifford is like, your shoulder is okay, it's all in your head. And I agree with that to an extent, because it could be a lot of fear and just those memories and her discomfort and being in the Pynk. But I also think she just needs rotator cuff surgery, which she can't afford because she probably ain't got no health insurance. Uncle Clifford, get them girls some insurance. Anyway, so while Mercedes is at the Pynk and she is looking a hot ass mess, honey, in front of Roulette and Whisper and Autumn and Uncle Clifford, it's just a hot mess express. Terica calls her, and once again, Terica has been driving Shell around because Shell is drunk. So when Mercedes gets back to her house, she hears and sees Terica and Shell arguing because Terica let Shell know she had an abortion. So Mercedes and Shell go back and forth, and while they're arguing, Terica yells out mama, and they both say what? And so Shell says to Mercedes, just because you know you did this with her, you don't get to respond to mama. I've been with her for 14 years. You only been in her life for 1 year. And Mercedes is like, yeah, but you weren't there when she needed you the most. Why you think she didn't tell you about it? Fair enough. If y'all think about it, number one, Terica did not feel comfortable talking to Shell about having an abortion. She overheard Shell basically talking about how she was forced to really keep Terica. And Terica was forced to really learn how to drive with Shell because Shell was always drunk. And she had no other choice. It was like, how am I going to call the police and Shell get arrested? What's going to happen to me? Like, I got to figure it out. And so really, you know, even though Mercedes hasn't been as active in Terica's life as either of them would really like her to be, she has been there for some really important moments in her life. And I don't think that is anything that's gotten past Terica, but I think she also recognizes that she still has love for Shell and she still wants to be there for her. And if she does decide to go live with Mercedes, Shell ain't got shit. And you know, that lady is going to spiral, okay? Spiral if Terica leaves that house and goes to live with Mercedes full time. So Terica realizes that, and even though she loves Mercedes and probably wants to stay with her, she knows that unfortunately, damn near Shell's sanity lies in her hands, which is a fucked up place for a child to be. Lastly, with Mercedes, main fine ass is out of jail, honey. He looks good, honey. I forget what his name is. Thomas something. And so Maine invites Mercedes to like a little welcome home, like gang party that's happening on the block. And so while they're there, they find out some news about one of their members being shot. We'll get to that later. And so Maine is like, oh, hell no. He ready to roll with the crew. And Mercedes stops him and she's like, you just got out of jail this morning. She's like, let the people that don't have an ankle monitor handle that. You stay out of that mess. And so I really love that. And I was rooting for Maine and Mercedes. But after Mercedes and Maine have the conversation, he goes in to kiss her. He got his hand on her thigh. She moves it. She crosses her legs, an indication that she wants something more than that. And he gets up. He's like, I hope you find what you're looking for, which is like an indicator that he's really messing with her, but he's not wanting anything serious is what I kind of took from that. Which is unfortunate, but also this could have been his way to exit out of the show. because we might not get a season 3. So all these secondary characters are slowly but surely exiting the show, which is sad. So I don't know. I was really rooting for a sex scene between Maine and Mercedes. What? I would have been here for that. I wanted to see that. But alas, Mercedes has class. So let's move on to Mississippi. So the character of Mississippi, or Keyshawn, if you guys notice, like this theme of like Cinderella and the fairy tale is still active with this character, which I actually really like, because last episode, Autumn kind of really came into her life as like her fairy godmother, like coming to really save her and to really help her to escape this abusive marriage that she's in. And so in this episode, Keyshawn meets up with Autumn. She gave Autumn birth certificates for her and the kids, and Autumn is like, you know, oh, 3 passports coming up. Autumn, how can I get in on that? Because I'm still waiting on my renewal on my passport. So if your turnaround time is better than the U.S. government, hit a sister up, because I got my birth certificate too. So I can, you know, help me out, okay? Help me. So Autumn brings up the idea to Mississippi that maybe she should come back to the Pynk and dance as a part of her whole way of getting out. You know, she's like, convince Derek that, you know, just give him all the money that you make from your tips, and then you'll get all the money that we make from the door. So when Mississippi gets back home, Derek has a bag of her with some shoes. Again, we go back to this Cinderella theme, right? So he puts the shoe on her, bitch. The shoe don't fit. You know why the shoe didn't fit? Just like in Cinderella, because that's not her Prince Charming. She is not supposed to be with this man. And Derek is like, well, you wear a size 7 or 7.5, something like that. And she's like, well, your feet can change and swell, you know, after having 2 babies. And so Derek gets upset and starts, you know, doing self-harm and, you know, saying how he can never do anything right and begging her, you know, what can I do? What do you want from me? I'll do anything you want. Please don't leave me. I'm trying. I'm trying to be better. Love bombing her, talking abuser. And so he's like, you know, I can put your room back together. You can dance for your OnlyFans. She's like, I don't want to do that. He was like, okay, well, you can go back on tour. I don't want to do that. And he was like, well, you want to dance at the Pynk? And she was like,
Gotcha, bitch.
And then he was like, oh, that place, nothing. Shut your ass up so she can get away from you. That place. And so, boom, pow, boom. Mississippi's plan is in action. And so when she gets to the club, honey, this whole episode was set up like a soap opera. Like, it was giving me Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful, As the World Turns, Guiding Lights. The whole CBS lineup. Like the way that the camera shots were done, like the zoom ins to the face, like the individual shots and everybody looking at Mississippi as she walked in. Woo! This episode was so good, and it was directed beautifully. I love that scene. And Uncle Clifford is pissed, honey. And Roulette was like, ooh, this is gonna be good. I said, it sure is, girl. It sure is. Mercedes and Mississippi, you know, they were like part of the Holy Trinity, you know, before Gidget and Mississippi left Mercedes high and dry. And so for a minute, there was like a little bit of tension, and Mississippi asked Mercedes in the locker room, you know, is her locker still available? And Mercedes was like, bitch, why are you going to ask me something like that? And so Mississippi stopped for a second. Mercedes was like, you know it's available. And so is your vanity. And so I love that, y'all. I almost cried in that part, because you know that these two women really have a good relationship, and they probably love each other. But because of circumstances, and because Mercedes has loyalty to Uncle Clifford, you know, she probably just cut Mississippi off, even though maybe that's something that she really didn't want to do. And so when her and Mercedes were going back and forth, Mississippi said to herself, and you can see her looking in the mirror, but then there's also a little smaller vanity mirror, which was like a close-up shot to her face. And something about that shot was like the larger mirror was her overall reflection, but then you had the smaller mirror was like she was talking to herself. Oh, it was shot so well. This was a good ass episode. Anyway, so Mercedes and Mississippi both basically say like they never thought that they would be back at this place. And I thought that was so interesting because as they shared that moment, in the background, there was a poster of Roulette and Whisper. Like basically their replacements was hanging up on the wall. This episode direction was on point. But this is the same director that directed episode 3, which I really loved. So it made sense that this episode was so good. I have a feeling because Mercedes still ain't got it together with her pole work and all that. And I think her heart just is not in it. And she's still haunted by the memories of everything that happened to Pynk. So I have a feeling during the reopening, it's definitely going to be Roulette, Whisper, and Mississippi. Now let's move on to Whisper and Roulette. So in this episode, baby, I knew something was gonna go down. I knew something was going down because she had on her red as usual, but this time she had on that animal print wig. I said, oh, Roulette about to turn up in this episode. Her cheetah print wig to me meant that we were going to see the most animalistic, savage, ruthless side of Roulette this episode. And so at first I was really nervous for Whisper because Whisper this time did not have on like her blue, her icy blue. She did at one point, and then that's when she was like using her crystal to trying to get communication about whether or not she should basically let oh boy pay to eat the box. But then after that, once her intuition was off, she wasn't in that color anymore, if y'all noticed that. Like she had like multiple colors on, which to me symbolized that she was in a place of confusion and indecision, and she really didn't feel comfortable about what was about to happen. Even though she said it with her words, I think the colors also really expressed it before we got to that point. And so they go to the hotel and Whisper feels very uncomfortable, but Roulette is like very comfortable, like almost excited. And I'm like, this heifer got some tricks up her sleeve. So I went to the worst possible case scenario in my mind. I'm thinking she gonna set Whisper up because it's a little bit of like competitive nature, and I think a little tinge of jealousy. I'm like, so hopefully she don't try to how Ronnie did Ebony in Players Club. I was hoping we didn't get that. So oh boy comes over and Roulette basically lets him know that she's going to stay there while, you know, him and Whisper do whatever. And he's like, you know, you don't need to stay here. You know me. And Roulette was like, I don't know you. If I'm not going nowhere, like I need to make sure she's good. So if I can't stay, you can't stay. And then so he agrees to it. And so, you know, things go down. He does the do on Whisper. Whisper wasn't really feeling it. She faked her big O. And so while he's getting ready to leave, Roulette is in the bathroom, and then he throws the money at Whispers on the floor, just disrespectful. And so as she's picking up the money, she's counting it. She's like, this ain't all the money. It's supposed to be 2 stacks. And he's like, B, you better be glad I'm paying you this much. You know, this was weak or whatever. He was like, I did all the work. And Whisper is like, I'm over here. I had to fake it. Like, I knew when you came in, your energy, you don't know how to please a woman. And so he starts choking Whisper. And so he was choking her for a good minute. And I feel like on the low, this was Roulette, like letting Whisper feel a little bit of pain, a little bit of humiliation, because that's how Roulette feels. And this man had Whisper on a pedestal, and so I think she wanted Roulette to experience that for a little before she jumped in with her pistol, and she put the gun up to the dude's head, and she's like, you better let her go. And then shit goes left. So Roulette, we found out how Roulette got her name this episode, honey, because they play Russian roulette. And this man was shook, honey. And then, so as they're playing, like, she did not hesitate. Pulls the trigger, nothing happens. She puts the gun up to his head. Without hesitation, pull the trigger. I said, oh, my God, Roulette. See what I'm saying? With the animal print and the animalistic. Like, this actress, I don't know her name, but she acted the hell out of this scene because she was able to show so much of the anger and just that rage that I'm sure Roulette, the character, feels in general towards this man. to one point, she told Whisper to take his clothes off of him, and Whisper kind of hesitated. She pointed the gun at Whisper and was like, B, I said take his clothes off of him. Like, she just blanked. So Whisper did it. She made the dude get on his knees. She put the gun in his mouth. She said, now do what you wanted her to do. She's like, I want you to moan. And so as he does it, she pulls the trigger again. The next scene we see is her and Whisper running. So we don't know if dude was shot or not. As they get to his car, he runs out and he's like, bitch, don't take my car. And he was like, I'm going to kill y'all. And Roulette was like, I'd like to see you try. They run, they leave. Woo, that scene was intense, but I loved it. And so Roulette takes this guy's car to a chop shop. He's like, you know, is somebody going to come looking for this car? And Roulette was like, nah, we good. And so as she's leaving the garage, she pops open the chamber on the pistol and we see there was a bullet in there. And yeah, and she walks off. When we think about the theme of Death Drop in this episode, Roulette said very specifically in the hotel scene, she said, I have a good relationship with death. Do you? And I thought that was so powerful. Because basically that means she feels like she ain't afraid to die. And she gonna play Russian roulette. It is what it is. And may the best man or woman win. Woo. Now, I do feel like this man is gonna come back for his car. And again, as of today, I don't know if season 3 has been greenlit or not. But I would not be surprised. I hate to say it, y'all, because I like Roulette. But I would not be surprised if he comes back for revenge against Whisper and Roulette might die. I will hope not, but anything is possible at this point in season 2 of P-Valley. Okay, y'all. So let's get to, we'll just group them together. Uncle Clifford and LaMarcus. Because this episode, I ain't calling him Lil Murda just yet. Uncle Clifford and LaMarcus. So we get a shot of, first of all, Uncle Clifford just does everything. So he's cutting LaMarcus's hair in his kitchen, and he's putting the word murder in the back of his head. You know, Big Teek's funeral is coming up, and LaMarcus is, you know, not really looking forward to it, obviously, but he's preparing himself for that. While Uncle Clifford is cutting LaMarcus's hair, they started kind of going back and forth about, you know, having pillow talk, you know, talking about, you know, the last time they did the thing. And basically, LaMarcus was trying to insinuate, like, so what was you doing while I was on the road? You know, are you sure you good? And Uncle Clifford was like, I know I'm good. Are you sure you good? You was the one out on tour going from city to city, so I don't know what you was doing out in New Orleans. And so LaMarcus is like, well, I don't know what you was doing here either, but I will say if I was doing anything, it was protected. How about you? I said, I know you. What? LaMarcus, you had a whole other boyfriend, a whole little side piece on the road, and you gonna come at Uncle Clifford? Oh, So Uncle Clifford was like, oh, okay. And so Uncle Clifford gets ready to go. And LaMarcus is like, where are you going? And Uncle Clifford is like, I'm going somewhere unlike you. And so Uncle Clifford, of course, is still worried about his grandmother Ernestine because we haven't really heard anything from her. She's still in the hospital battling COVID. So he's really stressed out and he's really upset about that. And so when he goes to the Pynk, you know, he sees that Mercedes is just not performing up to snuff, and that's his bottom bitch, as he calls her. So he's going to support her no matter what. But baby, when Mississippi walked in that club, Uncle Clifford, that was it for him. Honey, he went off on Autumn. And I feel like for him, there were so many things in his life that were just spiraling out of control. And him being the owner and manager of the Pynk was like that last thing from like his family, and that for him that he just could really have control over. So just him having the ability to say who can come and go in his club was like the last thing he had control over. And this wench Autumn then told Mississippi she could come back without talking to Uncle Clifford, and that was it for him. So he packs up his raggedy duffel bag or his box of goods in his Birkin, and he leaves. And he's like, I can't do this right now. I got to go. So he leaves, he gets in his car, and he sees a vision of his mother. And his mother is just like encouraging him. And she's like, baby, who I got to beat up now? I said, Cheryl, she sound like me because I stay threatening somebody. But, you know, he's real emotional and he's crying. And his mom is like, you know, we don't cry over these bitches. We get even. And as soon as his mama said that, that's when, boom, he went out there to Corbin. I don't know what he got up his sleeve, but Autumn better watch her back. Definitely need to watch her back. And then near the end of the episode, Uncle Clifford goes to visit his mother's grave. And it was just really, really sad, powerful scene. He, you know, apologizes to his mother about not visiting her grave, and he starts to cry, and he's like, please don't take Grandmama Ernestine. She's all that I have left. Like, please don't take her. And it was just really sad. And again, death drop, you know, this idea of death. You know, Uncle Clifford's mother has passed away. His grandmother Ernestine, you know, is kind of in limbo right now. Like, her life is hanging in the balance. And so I hope everything work out for Uncle Clifford. Grandmama Ernestine is not gonna make it, in my opinion. I just don't believe so. But, you know, I hope she does, because we love Loretta Devine. But I think realistically, that character is probably gonna not be back for season 3 if there's a season 3. All right, and then last but not least, Lil Murda. We can call him Lil Murda now, honey. So Lil Murda goes to the funeral home to see Big Teek's body for the last time, and he talks to Woody about preparations and, you know, how the funeral is going to go and things like that. And so as he's talking to Woody, he's pretty much like kind of judging Woody because Woody killed Rome, and Woody is like, you know, he deserved it. He was a rapist, you know, he was a hater, you know, he wasn't that dude. He had to go. And he was like, and he was trying to out you. He said, and that shit wasn't gonna happen. And then so Lil Murda kind of talks about how, you know, when he was about 15, you know, him and his mother and his family didn't have nothing. He had to do what he had to do to make sure there was food on the table and the lights was on, and he had to provide for his family. So it sounds like, you know, at a young age, maybe he entered into some form of prostitution or doing different things, you know, to provide for his family, or just, you know, just into the streets, and whatever the streets required him to do to make money, he was willing and open to doing it. And so I thought it was real ironic and hypocritical, though, the fact that he was judging Woody and was like, nigga, you not God. Like, you just can't be killing people and deciding, you know, whether they can live or not. And Woody was like, but we are God and we are the devil too. We are both. And I'm like, sir, your rap name is Lil Murda. Little Murda. How are you judging this man for murdering somebody and you literally rap under the name Lil Murda? Okay, get it together, LaMarcus. So we get to the scene with Big Teek's funeral, and it was so sad, honey. You know, everybody went up there. They laid, you know, gold chains on him. You know, they was gonna let him go out, you know, like royalty, like a king. And then Lil Murda, you know, whispered to Big Teek, you know, I wrote a new one for you. So basically, he wrote a new rap to him. I'm pretty sure, telling him he loved him and all that. And he walked away crying, and it was just like such a powerful scene, and it was so sad because, you know, not only was Big Teek, you know, his friend, he was his lover. A couple of the gang members kind of pull Lil Murda aside and show him a video of Pico online talking about how he was the one that killed Big Teek. Child. Of all the things, sir, to lie about, why would you pick that? Why? And so the look in Lil Murda's eyes to me was really like that transformation. We're about to really see Lil Murda and why that is his name. I don't recall last season if he ever had Murda cut into his hair, but they made it a very like prominent thing this episode. And to me, that really kind of meant that like, we're about to see Murda. Like, us seeing that before we even saw his face, and that shot was like, y'all about to get an introduction to Murda. So Pico is coming out of the store and he's walking to his house and he's on the phone with his son. And he's like, babe, I'm gonna be home in a little bit, yada, yada, yada. He feeling good because he done got all this notoriety from the gang and stuff because he's claiming to be the one that killed Big Teak. So he's walking through like this abandoned lot and we see a dude come from behind the abandoned lot. Now at first I didn't think it was Lil Murda. Because when him and the gang members were talking, to me, that meant that, you know, one of them was going to take care of Pico because Lil Murda got so much going on, he wasn't really going to get his hands dirty. Well, I was wrong because Lil Murda came out and was basically like, you know, so you was the one that killed Big T. And he was like, Pico was like, nah, I didn't have nothing to do with that. I didn't kill him. I just said that, yada, yada, yada. You know, I just had to save face because he beat my ass. You know, so I just wanted to, you know, make myself look better for the gang. He was like, you know my mama, you know my son, please don't kill me. And so Lil Murda was like, oh yeah, your son. I think his name was Brian or something like that, Lil Brian. He's like, yeah. And then Lil Murda, before he shoots him, he says, I'm going to tell him his daddy loved him. Lil Murda killed Pico, which is another secondary character going now. Child, we can do a tally. It's a lot of them. And then the last shot we get of the episode is Lil Murda in the studio. About to make some fire-ass music, I'm sure. So this was such a good freaking episode, y'all. Oh my gosh. Let me look up. Hold y'all. Let me look up right now to see if season 3 has been greenlit. Let's look this up. So y'all, P-Valley season 3 has still not been renewed by Stars. Yeah, that kind of makes me sad because we only have 2 episodes left. The season 3 has not been renewed, but the show also has not been canceled. So it's in limbo. So is this going to be that bullshit where we're left with like a cliffhanger and then the show never comes back? I will fight everybody. You hear me? I'm not ready for the heartbreak of an amazing season 2 finale with a possible cliffhanger with no season 3. So y'all, so let me know in the comments below what you thought about episode 8, Death Drop. It was an amazing episode in my opinion, but let me know yours. And as always, y'all, like this video, share this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to see y'all next week with episode 9 of P-Valley. Thank y'all so much for y'all support, and I'm going to see y'all next.
So lay back, get into the vibe, in the mood. Real reviews from a sister's point of view. Trailer reactions, movies and TV. So entertaining and authentic, believe me. So roll that footage, I'm ready to chill. Time to